Remember him. Ron Howard was that happy, red-haired kid everybody loved on old TV shows. He always looked so nice, calm, and friendly to everyone. That's why lots of people get really surprised when they hear something. Behind the scenes on The Andy Griffith Show, Ron Howard had a big problem with one of the show's favorite stars. That person was Frances Bavier, the lady everyone knows as sweet and kind Aunt Bee. On TV, we saw lots of love and family feeling. But off camera, things were really different. There were hurt feelings, awkward times, and a quiet bad feeling that just stayed around. So what really made them not like each other? And why did nobody talk about it for so many years? In this video, we talk about the real reason Ron Howard really didn't like Frances Bavier. And the truth might surprise you a lot. Way before Ron Howard turned into one of the biggest directors in Hollywood, he was that red-haired boy who made all of America smile on one of TV's favorite funny shows. He was born Ronald William Howard on March 1st, 1954, in Duncan, Oklahoma. He grew up in a family that was already full of acting and show business stuff. His dad, Rance Howard, who was born Rance Beckenholt, was an actor, writer, and director. His mom, Jean Spiegel Howard, was an actress too. Show business was part of everything in his little kid days. His family came from German, English, Scottish, Irish, and Dutch backgrounds. That mix kind of matched the nice, all-American kids he played on screen later. For school, Ron did some learning right on movie sets at places like Desilu Studios. He also went to regular school in Burbank, California, and even went to John Burroughs High School. Later, he went to USC's film school, but he never finished it. He already felt pulled toward making movies and TV. When he was only 5 years old, he started showing up in movies like The Journey. He was also on TV shows like The Twilight Zone, Dennis the Menace, and The Many Loves of Dobie Gillies. Then everything got really big in 1960. That's when he got the part of Opie Taylor on The Andy Griffith Show. They called him Ronnie Howard back then. He played Sheriff Andy Taylor's little son for all 8 seasons of the show. Years later, Ron remembered one early scene with a toy turtle. He had to act like the turtle was dead. It was a small thing, but it showed the soft, funny stuff and nice teaching that made the show special. The show was full of old-time feelings and made people think of warm, classic American life. Don Knotts played the funny, clumsy Barney Fife. Frances Bavier played the caring Aunt Bee. Ron became part of a group that felt like a real family to millions of people watching at home. The show never won the Big Emmy for Best Comedy Series, but it got 3 nominations. And Don Knotts and Frances Bavier won 6 acting Emmys together between them. When the Andy Griffith Show finished, Ron's work didn't stop at all. In 1974, he started playing Richie Cunningham on Happy Days. Richie was the nice, clean-cut guy next to Henry Winkler's cool, rebellious Fonzie. The way they acted together on screen and off-screen made the show super popular everywhere. Even while he was still acting, Ron really wanted to try directing. He started with a movie in 1977 called Grand Theft Auto. It was a cheap action comedy he wrote with his dad. He got the chance because of a smart deal with producer Roger Corman. Through the late 1970s and early 1980s, Ron directed some TV movies too. One was Skyward in 1980. His big movie success came with Night Shift in 1982. Then came the huge hit Splash in 1984 with Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah. What started with a toy turtle when he was little Opie turned into a whole life of telling stories. Ron Howard was never only a kid who acted. He was learning how to be a storyteller the whole time. And when he started directing, Hollywood really started paying attention. Even with all the awards and big money from movies, those early days on the Mayberry set taught him something important. Behind the pretty front porch and bright small-town streets, real problems were going on. Those were moments the cameras never showed. While the Andy Griffith Show showed warmth, peace, and cozy small-town life, the biggest drama happened away from the cameras. Under Mayberry's quiet roads and friendly faces, there was a quiet but long-lasting fight between two big stars of the show, Andy Griffith and Frances Bavier. To people watching, they were the perfect picture of TV comfort. Sheriff Andy Taylor and Aunt Bee were like the strong supports of a loving home. But away from the cameras, things between them had distance, tension, and bad feelings that never got fixed. This wasn't just a quick argument or small mix-up. It was a deep, long emotional gap because their personalities didn't match and they worked in very different ways. For many years, quiet talk about their bad relationship went around among the cast and people who knew the show. It put a little dark shadow on the show's bright, happy memory. The big difference between how great they looked together on screen and how uncomfortable they were off-screen made the problem stand out even more. Andy Griffith was full of easy warmth in his role and in real life too. As Sheriff Taylor, he led Mayberry with calm power, soft jokes, and a strong sense of right and wrong. He was a dad without a wife, a patient police officer, and the solid center of the whole town. His acting gave the show its feeling, natural, comforting, and quietly brave. Frances Bavier brought something just as important with Aunt Bee. She was the heart of the Taylor home, making meals, giving gentle rules, and sharing wise comfort. Her acting made Aunt Bee the perfect picture of an aunt, full of steadiness, love, and old ways. Together, their characters meant home, family, and feeling like you belong to millions of viewers. But behind the scenes, things were not so perfect and dreamy. Bavier liked being very private and kept to herself. She wanted to be alone more than hang out with the other actors. Griffith was the opposite. He was friendly and loved working together with everyone. Some people thought Bavier was cold, but really she just guarded her own space a lot. On top of that, she was super serious about doing things perfectly. She expected high standards from herself and others. If she thought someone wasn't serious enough, it really bothered her. Those problems came up a lot. Ron Howard always talked about how kind and helpful Griffith was on set. But other people said working with Bavier was hard. Actor and director Howard Morris once said being around her was like walking through a field full of hidden bombs. Even small things like moving a little for the camera could make her push back. She cared a lot about her own space and how she acted, and she didn't like anyone messing with that. In one sad try to fix things, Griffith showed up at Bavier's house without telling her first. He hoped they could talk and make it better. But it went wrong. Bavier protected her privacy so much that she saw the surprise visit as rude. Instead of bringing them closer, it made the gap bigger. It's so interesting. The town of Mayberry was all about togetherness, understanding, and feeling safe. But its stars carried quiet bad feelings that stayed with them long after the show ended. This big difference between what we saw and what was real makes the show's memory deeper. It reminds us that even the coziest TV worlds are made by regular people who have fights no script can fix. After years of dealing with being famous, lots of pressure, and Hollywood changing all the time, Ron Howard found something much more special than prizes or big movie money. He found a love that didn't need everyone looking at it to keep going. In a place where relationships come and go fast and break up in public, Ron and Cheryl Howard built something that lasted quietly. Their story was never loud or showy. It was calm on purpose and very strong at the roots. In June 2025, they hit an amazing mark, 50 years married. Ron didn't make a big deal about it. He just shared a simple picture of him and Cheryl standing together at sunset, right next to each other like always. He thought about their life full of memories they shared. He called their marriage a long trip with smooth parts and bumpy parts too. He said the reason it lasted was easy, they just kept going forward together. Their story started when they were still teens. When Ron was 16, he met Cheryl in California. Right away, it felt like something real and sure. He always said he never wanted anyone else. Their first date was simple but special, going to the movies, eating pizza, riding in a mint green Volkswagen Beetle that took them toward a future they didn't know yet. Years later, Ron joked that the car still worked great, just like their love. They got married in June 1975 in Burbank with family, friends, and some people from Happy Days, which Ron had just started. But they didn't hurry into marriage. Cheryl said no to his first proposal and his second one too. She wanted time to grow up, learn things, and be herself before saying yes to sharing life. That strong sense of being her own person became one of the best things in their family. Their daughter Bryce said Cheryl was the steady one who kept the whole house calm. Ron and Cheryl raised 4 kids together. 2 of them went into making movies like their dad. But their family wasn't all about Hollywood glamour. It was built on working as a team, sharing the same important ideas and loving stories together. Cheryl once wrote that stories brought them close at first, and their love became the best story they ever made. Their kids often talked about Cheryl as the heart of everything at home. Paige called her mom their guiding light, the one who shaped it all. Ron said openly that marriage needs more than just liking each other. It takes talking, being patient, and growing together. He believed love has to change and get bigger as people do. From late nights with new babies to early mornings on movie sets, from hard times to happy ones, they went through every part side by side. For one recent anniversary, Ron surprised Cheryl with a drive in that same old Volkswagen from their first date. No fancy stuff, no big party, just the open road, fresh air, and years of memories they shared. Very few people in Hollywood leave a big mark both acting in front and directing behind the camera. Ron Howard is one of the special ones who did it. He stands with a small group like Clint Eastwood and George Clooney who crossed that line well. But unlike most others, Ron's big memory comes way more from the movies he directed than the parts he acted. His path started on TV, where millions saw him grow from a kid. In the 1960s and 70s, he was a face everyone in America knew. First as Little Opie on The Andy Griffith Show, then as Richie Cunningham on Happy Days. While people saw a happy, reliable guy, Ron was quietly watching and learning everything. He studied how things worked and got ready for a life beyond just acting. That new path started in 1977 when he directed for the first time with Grand Theft Auto. It was a rough, full-of-energy movie that showed he wanted big things. The success didn't come super fast. Through the 1980s and early 90s, he made popular movies like Splash and Willow full of heart and fun ideas. But some critics didn't take him very seriously yet. A few movies that weren't great made people wonder if he'd stay just okay and safe. Then things changed big time. The early 2000s were a turning point, starting with How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Then came A Beautiful Mind. That movie was a touching story about mathematician John Nash and his fight with mental illness. It touched people deeply. It had great acting from Russell Crowe, Jennifer Connelly, Ed Harris, and Christopher Plummer. The movie seemed made to win big. When award time came, it did. Howard won the Oscar for Best Director. The movie also won Best Picture and other honors. But winning brought some arguments too. Critics and history people said important parts of Nash's real life were left out. Some hard truths that made the story more complicated weren't there. People said Howard made it too smooth just to feel good emotionally. He explained later that he made those choices to keep the main feeling of the movie strong, not to change history. What bothered him most wasn't the complaining itself. It was how the arguing hurt Nash's real life. In the end, that whole talk became part of Howard's story too. It shows that telling stories often sits in a tricky place between what's true and how you tell it. His work with both big praise and pushback shows what it costs to pick hard over every detail and the heavy feeling of making stories the world loves. After almost 70 years in front of everyone, Ron Howard is known as Hollywood's calm, steady person. He's quiet, careful with words, and almost never jumps into fights. Studios trust him when they want good work without extra mess. But even the calmest people have lines they don't let others cross. In recent years, Howard has shown clearly where his line is. When he made Hillbilly Elegy for Netflix, he came to it with understanding and care, not any political side. Back then, J.D. Vance wasn't known for politics. He was just a guy with a tough past and a mixed-up family story. That's what caught Howard's interest. Politics never came up. He wasn't looking for a message, just a real human story. But the man behind that story changed in ways Howard doesn't recognize anymore. Vance's rise in politics and sharper way of talking left the director feeling quietly upset. Howard didn't yell or attack. That's not how he does things. Instead, his disappointment showed in careful words and long, quiet moments that meant more than shouting ever could. That feeling reminded him of something from when he was a kid. Long before movies like Apollo 13 or A Beautiful Mind, he was a little boy on The Andy Griffith Show. That show was America's sweetest picture of small-town life. On screen, everything felt soft and safe. Off-screen, it wasn't always like that. Most of the cast was nice to him. But Frances Bavier, loved as Aunt Bee, kept a big emotional distance. Where people saw warmth on TV, Howard felt strictness and being left alone. He was only a kid, so he learned young how to handle uncomfortable feelings without saying much. One time stayed in his mind forever, the F. Amos Pickle episode. Ron really hated pickles. But he ate them over and over in take after take for the scene. Acting right across from Bavier made it even harder. He never said a word about it. Well, he couldn't. He just smiled, did what he had to, and kept the lesson inside. Years later, A Beautiful Mind brought another hard moment. The movie won Oscars and lots of love, but also got criticism for leaving out tough truths about John Nash's life. Howard explained his choices. He wanted the emotional truth more than every single fact. But it reminded him again of something he already knew. When you tell someone else's story, there's always a chance it can go wrong. Seeing how Vance changed brought back that same feeling. It wasn't just about politics that upset him. It was realizing people can show one side, then show a different one later. Stories like that can trick you. Warmth can be something someone acts out. Howard didn't turn angry or means. He just got better at noticing things. From a kid who felt uneasy acting to an Oscar-winning director, he learned when being quiet says the most and when something needs words. This time he spoke not mad but as a gentle warning. Be careful about the stories people tell you, because stories build what you believe and what you believe builds the world. And hardly anybody gets that better than Ron Howard. He's seen characters fool people on screen behind the scenes, and now even on the big national stage.